You know how frustrating it can be when your clients cannot understand or visualize your design concepts, right? Even though you've given swatches, drawings, mood boards, and you've used software like AutoCAD and SketchUp, and you've tried to make sure they understand what they are approving. Well, Duke Renders has the answer for that. They offer 100% accurate, do-it-for-you 3D renderings that present your designs in their entirety. This way, you can make sure that your client fully understands and visualizes your design before execution. This saves you headaches, this saves you time, this saves you money, it saves you that back and forth. Do you want to learn how you can start saving these headaches? Well, book a quick intro call to start getting your designs in beautiful photorealistic renderings. Go to dukerenders.com/LuAnn and you will get 30% off your first order. That's dukerenders.com/LuAnn. Do this now. Just book the call now and see what's going on over there because this offer is valid for just this week. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that we're doing something a little different over the next several months. We're bringing back the most downloaded, the most talked about episodes from the last 9 years of A Well-Designed Business. These are the episodes that built businesses, that sparked aha moments, that turned you into an action taker. Now, if you're wondering why we're revisiting these episodes and what's changing with the show overall, well, I walk you through the full vision in our April 25th, 2025 episode titled The Big Shift, What's Changing on a Well-Designed Business and Why. That episode is linked for you in the show notes. Now, a quick heads up. These episodes are airing as they originally did. That means the music might sound familiar or it might be vintage. That means the event dates will definitely be out of date that I talk about. And it also means that any offers that are mentioned may or may not be valid still. But the insights, still golden. So whether it's your first time hearing this episode or your fifth time hearing it, there's something in this conversation for you right now in this season of your business. So here's the show. I hope you enjoy it. Hey everybody, welcome to Power Talk Friday on A Well-Designed Business. I am so happy to tell you that I have Nicole Heymer back with me on the show. Hi Nicole, how are you?
Hey, LuAnn. I'm good. How are you?
Good. So if you are unfamiliar with Nicole, then I just have to say you're probably not listening to every episode because I bring you up, I would say, about every fourth one. Nicole Heymer is the owner of Curio Electro, if she is new to you. Curio Electro is a boutique creative agency that specializes in branding and websites for interior design firms and other creative and interesting businesses. Her clear, actionable take on branding has been featured by some of the design industry's favorite resources and organizations, from ASID's Tech Talk series to the New Jersey chapter, and also to the Window Coverings Association of America. She is an active ASID partner. She currently serves as the editor of the New Jersey chapter's Blueprint magazine. And I'm just going to say, if you really have not heard me talk about Nicole before, the things that I always say about Nicole, first of all, Nicole is the person who is the genius behind my LuAnnNigara.com website. And I say that word with absolutely no
It's a
pun
big word.
intended, right? I mean, I honestly, Nicole, I love my website. And you know what it is about certain things? There are things that we do that really represent us and who we are and what we do, whether it's an outfit that we put on for the day, right? Or a website that we put out to the world. I just love it. I just love it. And the thing about it is that one of the reasons that you and I talked about you coming back onto the show was really rooted in my experience of being part of your company and going through the process of building this website with you, because you have, what I have mentioned, Nicole, a lot of times on the show is your discovery process that you do, which is the first thing that you do with a client when they want to come and have a website built by you. And I have said to people, it is like therapy for your business. It's like, when you think about going to a therapist, sometimes it's like, oh, I get to just sit and talk about me for an hour every week for 100 years. Yeah, sign me up for that, right?
Totally.
Yes. And so I really felt like that was the thing. And I have expressed to a lot of people the value of that, because it really does help you come to clarity. And so we're going to talk about some of the things that you do in that discovery process, because you really feel, you've developed this process because these are the key steps that you have to cover before you even think about how or what is going to be on the website, right, Nicole?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So, I mean, one thing, just to go back to the therapy for your business thing, and I love when you say that. I think it's like, this is something that I encounter a lot, where business owners you're working in your business, you're working on your business, you're cycling, you're running like a little hamster on a wheel, and you don't have a moment to step back with a third party and kind of like get that overview of what you're doing. And especially when you're about to build a website, and this is kind of like the topic that we're going to cover today, like the importance of planning. And you don't have to plan, but if you want the end product to be like useful to you,
well, maybe
and like worth the money that you're spending, then yeah, it really, like, everything is going to be easier, and it's going to actually, like, be a website that actually like makes things happen, because you're going to figure out like what those things are,
right,
and how to make it happen. So yeah, it's people like it.
Yes, it really is. I mean, what I love about it is that the process is very organized, it's very systemized, and it reminds me a lot of what we talk to interior designers about on the podcast is, if your client can understand your process, if your client can visualize where this is going, then the journey is so much more effective for both of you. I remember Rachel Cannon was just on the show, and I should probably try and multitask and look up what number she was. But Rachel Cannon was on the show maybe 2 months ago. And I distinctly remember her saying, when I developed my process, and I understood it clearly for me, what it was, and then I enunciated it to my clients, my business blew up, because it just made everything hum. And that was episode number 306. And so the thing about it is that for me, I appreciated that I knew exactly what was going to happen as your client. I knew when it was going to happen. It was set meetings. It was like, I love that you even took the step of, should I make the appointments with you or should I call Adriana? I'm like, oh no, sweet Jesus. If you want it to happen, you'll call Adriana. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, I'm calling Adriana. I need to get on LuAnn's calendar for the next 6 weeks.
I know that so well now. Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Yep.
And so it was a very, streamlined, and then the meetings with you were very enlightening for me, because it's, as you said, you are doing something every day with your head down, and you have a way of probing and asking questions that you just go, yeah, what do I want to say? Like, right.
Yeah.
And here's what I love too. How do I want to say it? Right? We had a lot of conversation about, and I was like, well, this is really what comes to mind when this is how I want to say it, and I'm like, but I don't know that I can, that seems a little crazy pants, and you're like, well, that's so you, let's say it that way. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So it's really good, really, really good. Tell us a little bit about how you developed this and you came up with it, and what the process is like.
Sure. Yeah. And also, what we're going to go through today, we're going to talk about some of the stuff so that people who are listening can actually just run with some of these things.
Oh, that's nice.
Like
Good.
can like, let's outline it a little bit so that someone who is planning their own website can just get an idea of a structure, or let me get everybody excited about planning.
Right.
Is that possible? um, so anyway, all right. So how I developed it. Okay. So on my end, what I used to do is what everybody, not everybody, but what many web designer developers do, which is get on the phone with someone for 45 minutes, basically ask, what do you think you need? And generally that would be like, I want a website that is, it would speak to the visual a lot. It always like, that's like the easiest inclination is to think visual first, right? And it would be like, I need this page, and this page. And it wasn't really getting to the sort of true needs that the person had or the business had, because there just wasn't enough time and the right questions weren't being asked. So this came from a need to really dig in and figure out, there are a bunch of things that we get out of the discovery, the planning process. We get the messaging. We figure out what we're trying to do, like what's the problem and like what kind of problems are we trying to solve. We dig into who we want to take action on the website, and then calls to action and website structure and a plan to get eyeballs on the website. So those are actually the 6 things that we're going to talk about today. We'll break them down a little bit, but yeah, it's
you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a very relatable analogy for interior designers is, one scenario is you meet a client and they say, I need a kitchen, and everybody, okay, so a kitchen has a stove, it has a refrigerator, it has a sink, it has a this, it has a that. Okay, that's great. Let me get you a kitchen. And the other analogy is, I need a kitchen and I am a gourmet cook and I want to be able to cook with 3 people in the kitchen at the same time. And I want my family to be sitting next to me while I'm cooking. In other words, that's what you do. It's that you get into what really are the pillars of your business, what are really the pillars of your message, what, like you said, are the problems that you're trying and you're great at solving for your potential client. And it's not just, okay, yeah, you need a kitchen. It's like that's a website, right? The other is something that truly represents your business and the heart of your business, and that just like the designer that takes the time to really understand that this is a gourmet cook or this is a 2-career couple that they're gonna, their microwave is their best friend. I mean, it's completely different, right? It's a completely different goal for that kitchen,
Yeah, or you with like Vegas dark versus
exactly. Right. Do you want your bedroom to be Las Vegas dark or just dark?
What we mean. Yeah. And it's really representing your business, but it's also acknowledging the fact that a website is a machine that does something, that it's not, what are the goals? Like, what do we want this thing to accomplish? And we have to figure that out beforehand. I think one sort of like common mistake, and this is honestly why it can be frustrating to, like, let's say you're DIYing your site and all this planning stuff totally applies to people who are DIYing their site as well. Right. Whether you're hiring someone or working with us or doing it yourself, all the same things apply. The difficulty comes when you do it backwards. And I understand, like, I could see how this happens, that you're like, all right, I need a new website. So I'm going to go get a Squarespace trial, or I'm going to go set up WordPress. And then I'm just going to like get into the platform and like, just like start. I know I want a big picture on the thing. And like, I'm just going to start. Right. And that's really like development, which is technically like, that would be the last step.
Right.
Like taking it backwards, you're going to go development, and then you're going to think about design as you're doing that. And then like last, you're going to like get to like, oh, well, what kind of words should I put on this thing? And like, right. And that is really, really backwards for efficiency's sake. You really want to start with the content and then move through the steps the other way around, so that development is last.
Right. So when we talk about that first step is identifying our goals,
Mhm.
Talk to us about some of the types of goals that a designer could be thinking, oh, yeah, that's my goal, or no, that's not my goal. What are some of
Sure.
those things?
Yeah. Okay. So like sometimes a designer will be like, yeah, all right, listen, I've been in business for 35 years. And at this point, I have such a strong referral network that this is literally just an online portfolio. And my goal is to be able to update the online portfolio myself or have my assistant do it because right now I have to call someone and they're doing it for me. Right.
Okay.
Or update it so it's mobile optimized. Right. So that could be like one, like it depends. Like that's your situation. Maybe that's your goal. Right.
Right.
Or it could be that you're sick of saying the same things over and over and over again. Your current website is not educating people on basic information about how you work, and you could bring in a lot of efficiency by either, there are different ways to solve that problem. It's either putting a lot of information up front on the website or like creating some kind of email sequence that educates them after they do a certain thing or like whatever it is. But if that's a problem that you're sick of saying the same things over and over again, then a website can help you address that. Or it could be like, no one knows I exist.
Right.
And
Right.
like that's a common problem, right? So like it could be that this needs to be a lead generator that you need better visibility. So maybe that's one of your problems. Or it could be that you're getting the wrong kinds of leads because maybe your current website is speaking to a different audience than the one you actually want to attract. If you really think about it,
Mm-hmm.
the way the services are structured or the type of stuff you have in your portfolio. Or it could be that like you're just like embarrassed to give out the URL because it looks all janky and
Right.
like
Right. 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 Right.
like you just really need it to look better and visually represent who you are as a brand. So yeah, it's like those are all different sort of problems with different sort of solutions, or it could be several of those.
Right. You might have all of them, God forbid.
Yeah, it could be all of them. Yeah, it could be all of them, or it could be like some completely other thing that I am not even thinking out. You are a special snowflake, and your business is different.
No, and I like that because it really gets you, like you said, this is pen to paper first step. What do I want to achieve? And it's what do we say here on the show all the time? What's your why? Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm going to repeat myself. It's the same thing. If you really relate it to what you do as an interior designer, it's the exact same thing. You would never go in and develop a design plan for somebody's living room, their kitchen, their bedroom without understanding their goals for that room. Is it a living room that's going to be a look at pristine living room and you've got ropes around it? Or is it a living room that, 15 Labrador retrievers and 20 kids are going to hang out in every day, right? So you have to know your goals. And so it's no different whether you're working with a website agency or you're doing your own website. First, get very clear on what you need and want your website to do for you and your clients. Okay.
Yeah.
And then your next thing is you get into the messaging and doing that and conveying those goals, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like the messaging, I would say is like the most thinky. Thinky, is that a word?
You and your invented words. You're a riot.
I mean, I've never said that out loud. So I'm going to run with it though. It's the most thinky part of this process because it is not like it's not an easy thing. And the way that we get to it and the way that you can get to it yourself or work with us to get to it is by asking 1001 questions, and I will tell you what you're looking for. You're looking for it to be really, really clear. First, the basics, right? Who you are, what you do, where you do it. And I'm saying that really slowly and meaningfully because I do I used to do like 5-minute video website reviews. So like I've been on like 6 billion interior design websites, and I can tell you that one of the most common errors that I see is that I have to dig to figure out what area they serve. Like it's like, right? You know what LuAnn,
oh my God,
on a lot of
brutal.
interior design websites. It is crazy. It is, and I understand like, yeah, theoretically someone could fly you out to Marrakesh. I get it. But like it's not like realistically, you want to like own an area, and you're not going to be able to own an area if you don't say what that area is. And not only that for the human beings, but also like if you're like, wow, I really wish that like Google would understand who I am and show me when someone says interior designer insert area here, right?
Right.
you don't stand a chance
Right.
of showing up on those results if you're not clear on your website in the text what area you serve. So common mistake. So yeah, who you are, what you do, where you do it, and then how it will make their life better. What you do, like start with those things as like that could, that information needs to be clear. And then you're looking for points of differentiation other than that, like if you, how it will make their life better might be sort of a broad interior design thing, like interior design makes your life better by whatever.
Right.
But then you're also like, you have to sell them on,
You're only, like Fred Burns says, you're only, right?
Exactly. I love the way he says that.
Right.
Yeah, my copywriter says it that way too. I really like that. It's so that if they're comparing, what are the points of differentiation? Give them an excuse to call you instead of the other ones. They just want to eliminate their tire.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. Because, I say all the time, I'm the same as you, constantly looking at the designers' websites. And, you very rarely run into a designer's website where the portfolio isn't, let's start with acceptable all the way up to amazing, right? I mean, it's who's going to put out pictures for the most part that don't express a beautiful room, right? So there has to be something else. If I'm looking at 4 different interior designers and I'm a potential client, there has to be something else that makes me call to you, makes me be drawn to you. And it's these other things, you know what I mean? I have to tell you the other pet peeve of mine with designer websites, in addition to not having where they're located, because I really agree with that. It happens more often than you would think. And we're not talking about I'm located in the 3rd floor of my bedroom in my house. We're just like city, state, like general geographic area, right? The other thing is that I find is that I will have to sometimes go 2-3 pages to find their name. I don't like that. I don't like that. There are designers that have about you pages without their name on it.
Yeah, I mean,
Isn't that weird?
That's interesting you bring it up, right? Like it depends on the type of business, right? Like if you're a big interior design firm, that's one thing.
But even then, I like if you're a big interior design firm, then I expect a team page. Principals, sure. Here's the principals, here's the 19,000 juniors, here's the 20 purchasing, people. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But,
right.
This design firm is led by Sally Smith and Joe Smith. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. And I have to tell you why I know this happens is because often on Instagram, I will be communicating with a new designer that I'm not aware of, will say something on one of my posts. Well, I like to say, if the designer making a comment on the post is, I don't know, Indiana interior design, like nobody has a name like that, but I'm just saying Indiana interior design. Then I can go, yes, at Indiana Interior Design. Thanks so much. Love the shout out or whatever. But what I always do is I click over to their profile and I want to see their name. And it's like Indiana Interior Design. Then it's not there. I'm like, crap. All right. Now I got to go to their website. Now I click in their profile to their website. Okay. Not there. Okay. Is it on the About You page? It's not there either. Is it on the contact page? Are you kidding me, sweet Jesus? There's nobody's name on here. Like it makes me nuts.
Right. And especially, And like oftentimes we are talking about a small or solopreneur, right? So
yes.
There's no, people buy from people.
Right. That's the thing. And the thing is, these are the reason I'm pointing all this out is not to like make everybody freak out and go check their website. Like, am I the one she's talking about? Hello. It's because this is the value of what you described at the top of the conversation about having that third person look at what you do. Because if you're the one building your site, you know who you are. It's like what you forget what you don't know. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's so true.
And you're just like, oh my God, this is great. There's my picture. I look terrific. There's all my work. And it's like, oh, who am I? You know what I mean? And you might not notice that or realize that. And so that's one of the values of the process that you bring to this is that in that questioning and that messaging, it's like, who are you? So I love it.
Amen.
I love it. Yep. All righty. So in messaging, you're also dealing with, like you said earlier, the problems that you solve and your differentiator. So maybe you have this particular crazy knack for, maybe you're a gourmet cook, and that's what makes you so skilled at designing kitchens, because you understand the needs of an actual working kitchen, something like that, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Sure. So it can be all sorts of things. It could be that you are okay. So like what people, they get scared, right? Like, oh, are you going to make me niche? Like, yes, you could niche. That's an option, right?
Right.
So it could be that you specialize in like kitchens, or it could be that you specialize in a certain style, but it does not have to be that. It could be that your process is special in some way. It could be that you are really, really amazing with your service, to the point where, and the thing about messaging, and like, not to get too deep into, we've talked about branding before, but like, just like when it comes to branding, I'll just say this, and branding, messaging, like if you're going to say that you are amazing with your service,
yeah, better be.
You better be. Yeah. like it is not like messaging is, like, to be clear about like what to do with messaging. Let's just say it this way. Let's use the service thing as an example. If your messaging is that you have an amazing service, right? You are not just going to put that into your copy. Cool. You are probably going to put that into your copy, but people read something like that in your copy and they may or may not believe you yet, right? Like, everybody says that. You are going to go out into the world and you are going to do it so that people tell other people. So it becomes part of how you get referred, that people mention it because you do it so damn well.
Right.
And you are going to use testimonials that talk about the fact that your service is amazing. And like, those are going to be the ones that you sort of highlight, the ones that, you want to think about your messaging when you choose testimonials, video testimonials, written testimonials. You are going to build it into your systems so that your employees are like, oh, we're good with service. Okay. Right? That's our thing. Like, we can make a decision quickly because, and I know that you are so into this with window that you like are such, you're like the singing from the mountaintop systems person. But like, it's true that like, if you're saying like, we're really good with service and your employees know that, or even your vendors, your contractors, whoever know that, then they can make those little decisions on their own without having to sort of like talk to you about it, because they're like, well, that's our thing. So like, I already know that.
Exactly. That's the exact truth. It frees your staff and your assistants and everything to understand that the number one goal is going to be satisfaction. So there's a lot of things that I can say here that my principal is not going to come back at me on and say, what the heck did you promise that for? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So even to like run a little further with that, with other things to like do with your, like put it out, tell stories that illustrate it so that people actually believe it's true when you're like talking to a client in your first meeting. Put it into your blog posts, those type of stories, bring it into your like sort of like portfolio case studies if you have those on your blog, all of that. So it's not just like, let's put together messaging and like use that for copy, although that is extremely useful. It's all of the rest of it.
Right. And I just want to say here too, we're alluding to the first conversation that you and I had, and that's episode 125 when Nicole was on the show, and that whole that conversation was all focused on branding, on developing your message and developing who you are and why you are and what your thing is. So that's step 2 for this conversation, but it was a whole podcast at episode 125. And that was when I first fell in love with you, truly.
Oh, baby.
I mean, you were recommended. Let's just give the shout out to Sandra Funk at House of Funk, right? Because you've done, I saw your Facebook Live at Design Sips just last week. I watched that. You guys are adorable.
Oh my God. I have like RBF through that whole beginning of it, and I don't know why. I won't say what that stands for, but why is my face like that?
Yeah, you guys are funny. But I met you through Sandra because you have done, it's like you guys were talking on the Facebook Live, like every website she's ever had, every iteration of it, except I think you guys decided the very first one before you knew her. And so I remember when Sandra said to me, oh, Lou, you got to talk to Nicole. You got to have Nicole on the podcast. And I literally was like, okay, if Sandra says so, I'll do it, whatever. And I was like talking to you and I was like, oh, whoa, okay, we have a brainiac in the group here. Okay, I'm happy. So, alrighty. Now, the next thing is, what do you want people to do to take action on the website? What do you want? What's that about?
So the next step is actually, who do you want to take action on the website?
Who.
So we'll talk about who first, because it affects what, it's all intertwined, right? So this is talking about we've all had 1,000 conversations about ideal client, target client, all of that. And that's what we're talking about. But it can feel like sort of like this loosey goosey idea, I think sometimes all right, I'll make a persona. And then what do I even do with that? Right. But if you break it down, it actually does influence your other decisions. So for example, if you are a more consulty service, right? I've had clients who are more they do more one-off consultations. They're awesome. They work with what you've got, that kind of thing.
Right.
Then everything about your messaging, everything about how you structure your services, everything about how you structure the website and your call to action, and everything is going to be different than if it's a full service client. Where do they live? Okay, we need to say that. So let's figure out what the answer is to that. What kind of budget do they have? That sort of thing can influence how let's say you're doing blog content, which you probably should.
Right.
Don't get tired when I say that, but you should. It's actually really effective, I promise. But what kind of budget you're speaking to really will influence the kind of things that you're discussing. Let's say on a blog post, if you are talking to full service clients and that, then you do not. It is going to be maybe not 100% beneficial to you to do a bunch of DIY blog posts, you know? That's a common thing that's done because it's sort of an easy thing to write about, how to do this. You can do DIY type of advice, and you can demonstrate your expertise with advice type blog posts, but the tone of it and how the material actually breaks down is going to be different if you know in your head that you are talking only to full service clients. Right. And that's what you're trying to attract.
And what you're saying, yes, the point of what you're saying is that don't send mixed signals.
That's a good way to say it.
Right? So if you are really, really, really happy and looking to I've talked to designers where, it's a perfectly acceptable and actually would be a terrific thing if they earned $1,000 a week, and that was because they did, 6 200. I can't ask. I'm going to try and do math in my head again.
5.
5. Okay, 5.
If you're going to say 200, I think, right? Yeah. I just questioned myself now. Great. Yeah, we're both really smart, right?
Right. Oh no, yeah, right, exactly. but that really isn't it? 2.
I can't talk about this more. Yeah. Can someone write a minute? No.
Okay, so now I have to get my calculator out.
Anyway,
It's 4. It's 4. So if you at 200, it's 5. You're right. So I was going to say 250.
Oh, you were. Okay.
Holy moly. Okay, so the point is that you could be a designer out there and you would love to make 50,000 gross receipts this year, $50,000 gross salary this year, gross net revenues this year, right? And you really could set a goal that I'm going to be off every Friday and do that. All I have to do is do one $250 consultation Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every other day. You know what I'm saying? You could do it. But the thing is, then your blog post and your website should talk all about the convenience of a one-off consultation and how much you can accomplish in a one-off consultation for $250. And your blog posts support that, hey, if I come out to you and I give you tips on, how to execute blah, 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 there's a whole lot of information on my blog posts on places to get accessories and places to how to place accessories and how to do a coffee table setup and yada, yada, yada. Exactly, right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you had an interview with a luxury designer who was talking about how she goes shopping with clients.
Oh, right. Sandra Espinay.
Yes. And so that is a very different target client than the dual income, listen, we just want to outsource this. We just want we just want a good end result. We don't want to be heavily involved type of client. And your language is going to be different. Your process is going to be different. How you describe it, everything is going to be different. So yeah, it's real. It's not.
And the thing is, there's not good or bad here. This is the point. It's just get to your why and what you want it to be and how you want to serve, and then talk to it on your website in clear language. Okay. So what that is that's who do you want to take action on the website? So if you want a luxury client to take action, you have to think about focusing your words, your messaging, your images to the luxury client. And if you want to have that, whoever else it is, it's who is it? Get clear first. Okay, good.
Yes.
I love it.
And this will influence other questions like how they contact you, which we'll talk about now.
Okay.
So then we get into what kind of action you want them to take on the website. So again, it's all really nice to have all of this planned up front before you start trying to put this thing together, right?
Right.
So calls to action, I think of it as primary and secondary, although that's a kind of a really lame way to say it probably. But
we could say first and second if you like.
We could say first and second. We could say contact you and lead magnet. So,
okay. That actually is more clear for us. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know why I say it that way. It's silly. So, so the primary, the first, the generally it's going to be that you want them to hire you, right? So the thing is, if you just put up and this is another sort of common, you see it a lot. There's a contact us on the top nav, right? Mm-hmm. And then you click on that and there's a form, and the form is one of those generic forms, and it's name, email, phone number, message, right?
Mm-hmm.
LuAnn, you've seen that, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And there is, if the goal of a website is to make it as easy as possible for someone to get from point A, which is doesn't really know much about you, to point B, which is hiring you, is that the best way to do it? No. You want to think about how can I take them on a very skip down the path, right? So you want to think about setting up expectations and how do people like to contact you? You've been in business for a little while, let's say, and how people like to contact you, right? And you also know, I'll throw this in there, you're the captain of your own ship, how you like to be contacted.
Right.
So if it is that you prefer that you have a little bit of information up front, then a contact form is good, right? But not too much information, FYI, because it's the more you ask of people, the lower your conversion rate is going to be. So you got to be careful with that. You don't want to ask everything.
Right, because it's the truth. As soon as you go to something and it's forget it, I'm not answering six questions.
Right. So this is that, those charts where it overlaps, you're looking to, when you're thinking about how you want them to be able to buy your services, you're looking at their needs, their target client, so I deal with really busy dual income, blah, blah, blah. What would be helpful for them? Would it be helpful for them to be able to book a call online, schedule it when it's convenient for them? Maybe, all right, let's make that happen because that's totally doable. You have Acuity, right? You've mentioned Acuity. I use Acuity. It's awesome. But so that's one option. Or is it that generally people like to call me, let me just provide a phone number, or whatever it is that is useful to those people that you like to serve. And then also considering your own needs, because that's important.
Right. It's your business.
It's your business and it's your life. Yes, totally. So, and then you could take it a step further, what happens after, so they contact you because they're interested in hiring you, what happens? So they filled out a form, is there some sort of thing that happens automatically? They get followed up with further information, that's an automation that could happen, right? Something where you, on the confirmation, you give them you prompt them to go follow you on social media. You can think about these things, the multiple steps to make it just better for you and more effective.
Yeah, I love it. I love the the whole point of what we're saying is to think about it ahead of time. I know, remember, a lot of designers have a booking service right connected to their website, and also a way to pay for that service right through the website. So yeah, so if you are a designer that offers one-off consultations or offers one-off paint consultations or different things, it could be right there. $250. Here's my Acuity link. Just schedule it, and you wake up in the morning and you've got an appointment for Tuesday, and you're like, yes, that's awesome. So I remember Veronica Solomon mentioned that on her episode, and that was almost 2 years ago. And I remember her, and it was one of the first people that I heard of that was doing that sort of thing in the design industry. And since then, I've certainly learned of others, but she's a trailblazer. Yeah.
So I mean, and that could be just because a lot of the feedback that I get with my clients is that people it depends, right? Like how well they know the brand. So they might want to talk to you before they book that $250 consult. So even if you are using it for your own convenience, that you speak to them for 15 minutes and then you send them the link.
Right. You can still
book.
Yep.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be the process can be anything.
Right.
You have to, but sit down, think about it, and then then you can build it around the structure that makes sense. And then the secondary, the lead magnet. So this is a whole thing. So I am not the first person to come onto this podcast and talk about lead magnets. Hey guys, you ever hear this thing called a lead magnet? But I will say this, I come across many websites that don't have anything like this in place. And just to sort of hammer it home, the idea is if someone comes to your website and they are not ready to be all right, I'm ready for you to gut reno my house. I'm ready. Click the button. They might be in a place where they're not ready to really contact you to buy your service yet, but you can offer them a middle ground so that they can stay in touch with you and you can nurture that lead. It's really, really important. And I know from my clients that it works.
Right.
It absolutely works. Staying in contact after you get an email address from someone really does bring in consistent business. So to get the email address out of their hot little hands, you have to have some sort of something.
Right. And so lead magnets are, in case this is new for anybody listening, lead magnets they could be any number of things. It could be a short ebook on the 5 top white colors that will always work in every room. And then you just describe them, why, you have to support it with good information, yada, yada. But you could be a 5-page PDF on something, or it could be a video tutorial on styling a coffee table or a bookshelf, right?
It could be anything from a contest to it could be a quiz, it could be a PDF, it could be access to a video series, it could be access to really the sky's the limit, and the more creative you get, that's great. The best practice advice for this is that a lead magnet should be something consumable so that they can consume it and get that good feeling about you. So you mentioned an ebook, it seems contrary to I don't know, common sense, but if you have something that's really long, if you're here, I'm going to send you access for free to my 300-page book on, on, whatever, I don't know, your home. That's not they're never going to read it, or such a small, they don't get to have that good feeling about you because it's hard for them to consume that. So it's actually the data shows that checklists, that sort of thing are actually better, things that are shorter. So that they can do it, so they can consume it and possibly take action on it.
I like that. That's a very good thing to just take a minute to point out, because your inclination is to make sure that what they are clicking on and exchanging their email for is something that is truly valuable, of course, and that is the case. But valuable doesn't mean detailed, intense, and heavily overrun, because right. So it has to be I like the word consumable, but I have to say until you really explained it, I was like, whatever, what do you mean by that? Now I get it. I have to be able to open it up and then not go, oh, forget it, I'm not doing that. I want to open it up and go, oh, okay. One of the first things that I do when I look at any video, I don't care where it is the first thing I do is I look at the timestamp. Oh, this video's 3 minutes. All right, let me try it. And sometimes even after 10 seconds, I say, forget it. But if I look at the timestamp and it's like 35 minutes, I'm like, I'm not doing it. Nope. It could be how to get every single interior designer on the face of the world to listen to your podcast tomorrow. Video's 35 minutes. Yeah, no, I'll get them little by little. Not
I'll watch
happening.
That one for you. I'll give you the bullet points. I would like to know.
And so that's a good point, that don't overthink it, that if you're going to do a little thing on color selections or Roman shades or, styling a bookshelf, if you're going to do tips on all of that, to make it so that they actually complete it. They actually read it, watch it, do whatever, take the quiz, whatever it is, so that when they're done, like you said, they get that, that was a good thing. I like that.
Yep.
Because then that feeling is transferred to that business. You're like, no, I like that business.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's all you're trying to do. You just want, don't disappoint them.
Right.
Don't bum them out. We've all downloaded something and been like, what the? Yeah. And now they have my email address, and I have to unsubscribe, and this is annoying.
Right.
But yeah, so going back to brainstorming how to do this, how to come up with something, just, you think about it. It works best if you've got a couple clients under your belt, because it's the easiest way to do it is to think about what are the most common reasons why people come to me. What are the problems that they're trying to solve? What's the language that they use when they're talking about them? Because you want to use exactly that language and address maybe exactly those problems, the small little snippets, the slices of problems, and then so that's one way to think about it. And then another thing I'll throw at you is that, if you think of the funnel of, you've got, I don't know how, the top of the funnel where there's a lot of people sort of milling about and they're on your email list,
right,
versus the bottom where they're actually yeah, I'm about to hire you.
Mm-hmm.
Your lead magnets can exist at various places on that funnel, something like a contest that is going to bring in volume of subscribers, and it's going to bring in volume, and they might not be as finely tuned to being potential clients,
right. They're interested in the contest, but they weren't really looking to hire a designer.
You don't know, they're interested in design. We know that because the contest, of course, is design related, I would hope. You're not giving away an iPad or something. Let's just talk. You will get tons of subscribers if you're giving away a free iPad. And useless. So
right.
Yeah. So you have to think about these things versus something that's really bottom of the funnel where you're saying, this is a how we do it, it could be a price list even, something that is going to be very few people are going to download it, but the ones who do are truly potential clients. And then there's a middle ground somewhere. So that's something else you can think about with your lead magnets. And you can also, not to keep talking, but you could also do multiple lead magnets,
right.
That is certainly a thing. As far as, I don't want to overwhelm anyone with that, because the tech changes when you're going to do multiple lead magnets,
Okay.
when you're just starting out, MailChimp. Go with MailChimp. It's free for up to 2,000 contacts. You can have one list, have one lead magnet. And then if you're going to go to multiple stuff, then you want to go with something that's a little bit fancier and that can handle that. I'm a big fan of ActiveCampaign.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And I just want to say that this, again, is one key of what we do before we actually build a website, when we plan it, right? But episode 259 with Kay Whitaker went through this particular step for the whole Power Talk Friday. So there's complimentary information there for you if you're like, I like this conversation about lead magnets and sequences and how would I employ them in my interior design firm. Kay Whitaker breaks it down. Of course, Nicole can too, but it's one part of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah. So yes, like you said, this is just the kind of thing that we're thinking about, and then you can figure out how to get it done,
right,
whether someone else is doing it for you or not, but have it up front, because if you're designing your website and let's say you're designing a homepage, you don't want it to be, you can, but it's better to be thinking up front. If you're going to have a lead magnet, well, where should it go in the design?
Mm-hmm,
let's not ramshack, jam it in afterwards.
Right, because
Can't
what's
overdo
so
it in.
typical is that we design the pretty facets of our website if we're DIYing it, and from the standpoint of our portfolio and our looks and all that other stuff. And then when to your point is 4 steps later, when you're like, oh yeah, I have a lead magnet, now you're going to go back to the design and interrupt the design. Whereas if you're doing this planning process and you get all your steps and all your information in front of you, then you go to start to design the site. You're like, and I need a spot for this call to action for my lead magnet.
Exactly. That's why content first.
Right. Okay, cool.
I would recommend operating. Yeah.
Okay.
Then you could design second. Make it pretty. But,
okay. Right.
Figure out what you want.
Well, it's like this. It's like you could be saying. It's like if you're making a kitchen, it function first, pretty second, right?
Oh my God, there are so many comparisons. This is why it's like kind of fun to work with interior designers, because there are so many things that I can say that they get.
That's right. They go, just like what I do. Right. Exactly.
Yep, exactly.
I love it. Okay. And so the next step is website structure and portfolio structure.
Yeah. So, like if we were working through a discovery process, one thing that you would get at the end is the sitemap, which would be a structure of like, all right, this is the pages that we're going to do. These pages live under these pages. This is how this thing is going to be organized. The portfolio, we're going to organize it this way. So like there are 2 different sort of schools of thought on that, right? There's the by project, or you could do by room, right? Or I'm sure there are other ways to do it. I mean, I can give you my 2 cents on that if you want.
Yeah, no, we want to know.
Okay. So
we want to know.
Well, thank you, LuAnn. So here's my opinion. I always recommend going by project, and the reason why I recommend that is because those pictures look better next to each other, essentially. Because if you go by room, it's just sort of jarring. You're going like, okay, so here are a bunch of bathrooms that have different sort of looks and feels, right? And it's like one, next. Versus if you are going by project, where you are, especially if you're a full service interior designer and I was
just going to say, this is really pertaining particularly to full service design.
It's true. You're right. It is pertaining to full service. So if you're a full service designer and you want those projects where you are doing multiple rooms, then definitely do not break up your portfolio by room. You're sending the wrong message.
Right. Good point.
Tell the story of a project by letting them go through and how the paint plan all coordinates and like how everything works together. And it's also just going to be a better experience for the user to go, everything's going to kind of look good together because that's how you roll, right? So yes, in general, and it's true, you bring up a good point. If we're talking about a designer that is more doing consulting, then that could definitely be an exception to this rule.
Right.
Definitely.
Because and by the way, we're not even talking about somebody who's choosing to do more consulting, but the beginning designer who really his or her projects do mostly at this point in their career pertain to or only include one-off rooms within a home. So you very often in your beginning of your career, someone hires you to do their bedroom or their nursery or their bathroom or their kitchen, in which case you have no option, you know what I mean? And so in that case, so if we're talking to a newer designer that's sitting there with 5 pictures, that's the only thing they have, their portfolio is 5 pictures, it's 5 different projects. What do you suggest in that case, Nicole? Do you think that, do they even at that point, like I have no idea what you're going to say, but it occurs to me that I might even think, well, instead of setting it up as quote unquote portfolio, maybe I just make a blog post out of each one of those and let the pictures be within my blog so I can tell the process of it. Like what happens if you have only 5 pictures?
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, I know. I should have listened to it. I'm like, am I repeating everything that I said? Because I do not know. So yeah, I would say like if I have a designer that has 5 good quality pictures, then I think that's enough to have a project section and portfolio section.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
If they have 2 pictures, then yeah, I think that doing blog posts and talking and really telling the story about each of those pictures is probably a better way to go.
Okay.
But there are a lot of interesting things you can do with portfolios. like if you, it's particularly like this is more like if you are hiring someone to do a custom site for you. If you're using a plugin, and which is totally fine, but if you're using a plugin and just like putting in like a slider and like, just going sort of the more streamlined, straightforward route, then this is not as possible. But if you're doing custom, you can really turn your portfolio section into whatever you want. Like you can have like, you can really just tell the story on each, if you had 5 pictures only, then you could really dig into each of those pictures, like you could make each of them a project and like talk about each one and break it down and who was the client and what were the problems that we were solving and here's a before and after picture. And like, I mean, there are just so many, or you could go the more traditional route, which is just to have a slider or to have a grid with all those 5 pictures on a page. And this is our project page, and look how beautiful it is, so yeah, there are just different ways you could go. It really depends on what you're looking to accomplish, and and how much you want your messaging to be in that area of the site.
Well, and I think that, we've said it often enough on the show as well, that even if you have done one room for somebody, that one room you could at least get 4 or 5 pictures out of one room. So it's the overall shot, the vignettes, the corners. And so maybe even if you only have 2 projects under your belt and each one is a single room, you could theoretically end up with, like you said, a project page, and nobody has to know they're the only 2 projects you did. If you put enough information, enough detail, enough story, enough about the challenge and all that, it sort of becomes, well, what was she going to do? Tell me about every single project she ever did? No, she picked these 2 to tell me about.
Yeah. No, I love the wording featured projects.
Right. Yes.
big fan of that.
It's the spin doctor. Right. These are my featured projects.
These are my featured /only.
Yes.
But yeah, I like that because it doesn't, I mean, I do the same thing in my portfolio. I have recent and featured projects because I have a mixture of projects up there. Some of them are like a few years old, but I just really like them and I feel like they're a good example. And then there are the more recent projects,
right? Like I didn't look at your thing. Am I on your featured projects?
Yeah, like
oh, I am. Oh, I have to go look.
Yeah, you're like recent and featured.
Nice. Oh man, that's funny. So okay, and then the last thing is a plan to get eyeballs on the website.
Yeah. So again, not the first person to say this, but if your website, like you need to have a way to get people to it. Period. End of story. Unless your whole goal is just to have it be like a business card that lives on the internet that you send people to.
I have met a designer that's exactly the truth.
And that is, yeah, exactly. Like that's way back in the beginning of this conversation. Like if your goal is like, I am well established, I have an amazing referral network, I don't need to put the effort or the money into sending traffic to this website, then that is a-okay. That is one situation. But if you're looking to build your visibility, then you need to create a website that does all the things that we just talked about, gives them a path to purchase your services, gives them a place to sign up, features your messaging so they understand that you're different, blah, 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 so that it's an effective sales tool for you. And then you need to figure out a way to get people, get the eyeballs on the website. So, whatever that is, it could be that you're doing, live videos on social media. It could be that you are doing blog posts and slash search engine optimization, which are, those things are very intertwined. It could be that you're doing paid traffic. It could be that you're doing speaking engagements or holding workshops. It could be that you're, really killing it on Instagram or Pinterest, or you're holding a sign on a busy street corner. Whatever. It could be that you're networking with referral sources like realtors, or it could be that you're doing mailers. Like literally, there are a lot of options out there, but you got to have something. You have to have some idea.
Right. You really do. You have to just give that some good solid thought on. And the thing about that is you just rattled off 9, 7, 8, 10 ways that we could drive business to our website. And the thing about it is I feel, for me, I just feel like if you have I have 10 ways to drive traffic to my website. You're not going to, if you really set out to do 10 ways day one, you're probably going to do all of them poorly, right?
Yeah.
So pick one or two, right? Pick one or 2 or 3, master it, move on to another one, right? Do you suggest that?
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're not going to, probably what will happen is that you won't actually finish making any
Anything.
of them happen.
Right.
Like
Right.
you'll
Believe
be
me.
like, all right, I'm going to do, yeah, I know, we all.
Unless you have somebody like Nicole goes, LuAnn, it's another
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. Well,
Where's
yeah,
the
I mean,
blog
let's,
post?
right. Let's, no, but like, let's, for LuAnn, Window Works is another situation, but let's talk about LuAnnNigara.com. Like, luckily, like, all right, so we could literally go through all six of these things and talk about your website and
Mm,
how that worked on all of them. But like for this, you have like, oh yeah, you're just like doing this podcast.
right. That's the loading
Like,
content every week. Right.
yeah, like you're not doing anything, just this podcast, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, just that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lazy.
Yeah, amazing. But then on top of it, so then it starts to layer. So like since we've launched that site, your organic traffic, because we built it in a way that is search engine friendly, like
Hmm.
we built it in a way that it is optimized for that. You are picking up in the organic rankings every week.
Right.
You're
Right.
moving up. It's like so that's a secondary thing. And then you also do speaking engagements. And then you also on it, like your social, I mean, you're coming at it from like 75 different. Like, we just said not to, but you are.
That's why I'm so tired.
That explains it.
But the thing is, I have a lot of help. Let's be serious. I have a lot of
Right.
help. I have a lot of help. And not everybody has a lot of help. And I do have a lot of help. I have a lot of support for not only getting the podcast out, but I have your support with the website. I mean, here's a perfect example. I'm going to be doing, at this point in time, will it have happened? Yes, it will have happened. But I just would have done a book signing at Cravat at High Point Market with my Doma studio and Cravat. And here's the perfect example of help, where you're saying to put content and information on your website so that it draws more people and it gets the googly guy to get over there and stuff. But when I want to do that, I just go, Nicole, I'm going to High Point on the 16th. Here's the graphic. Please, make it something on my website. And 25 minutes later, it's like, oh, there's this whole thing. So yeah, I'm coming at it from a lot of directions, but I have a lot of quality people like yourself helping me, my podcast editors and so forth. So if you're doing it yourself, you do want to focus on, I would say, say you could only focus on one thing, it has to be the blog, right? Or
Oh gosh.
Pinterest.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, it just really, really
I guess
depends
it's what
on.
you're good at. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
I shouldn't
you
say
can't,
that. Right.
you can't make me. No.
No. Right. Right.
No, because
Yeah.
really let me ask you like one question up front. Are you doing online design too? Like that sort of thing.
Right.
Like are you local only, or are you reaching a larger audience? Like that would make a difference
On
right
how you
there.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
true. And the truth is, not everybody writes and not everybody likes to write. So it shouldn't be
Yeah.
the only way. It could be video. It could be anything. Right. No,
Totally.
that totally.
Yeah, and your blog can involve video also, of
Hmm.
course.
Hmm.
But yeah, it really, really depends on where your skills are and what you're going to stick with, because you have to like it or have a team in place for it, or
Hmm.
it's not going to be consistent.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you, seriously, like with blog stuff, if you have specific messaging and if you know who you're talking to, you're going to have a much easier time coming up with content. Like,
Right.
if you're trying to reach everybody, if you're like, I'm just an interior designer who like we do everything and blah, like what are you going to talk about? Good luck,
Right.
like it's just not,
Right.
when you have a little bit of a niche, like take Marina, for example.
Right. You're
Like,
Marina Umali.
yep,
Yep.
Marina Malley, like she has a great niche. Like she can just run with her blog posts because she has something specific to talk about. And also she's going to have a much easier time ranking organically because she's being specific.
Right, because Marina specializes in feng shui design, and we had Marina on the show, episode 248, and she talked about her interior design business and how she specializes in that. And that's true, and that doesn't mean that you need to specialize into something so niche. But the
No,
truth
it
is,
doesn't.
and it also, Marina doesn't. I remember the conversation with her. It's not that she'll only do feng shui design, right? But because she's expert at it, that she's proficient at it, that she's certified at it, and that she leads with it, if you come to her because of it, great. And then if you end up doing a room with her that she doesn't, you don't want to do feng shui, she's not going to be like, no, you're out of here. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. I mean, I do the same, like I market to interior designers, but the other 50% of my clients are a variety of, I mean,
right.
like that's a good way to go about it, actually.
Right. Exactly. So, so it's, look, it's everything. How to get eyeballs on your website goes back to everything else. It goes back to your point, to planning, and to what we always say on the show is, what is your why? Because you have to know very clearly who you're speaking to, so that you have to know who you're speaking to, and you also have to know yourself very well, both things. And so that's the combination there, because for some people, they are very comfortable doing video. For other people, it is blogging. For other people, whatever. It could be having workshops at a studio. It could be networking at BNI groups. You do have to figure out what you can do and what you will consistently do if you don't have the ability to just simply employ other people to do it for you. So, because otherwise you're not going to do it. I mean, look how much hard time you have with me to getting me the stuff on the window work site, and I am paying you to do it.
Oh my God. We can't even talk about that. we cannot go into that right now.
Because at the end of the day, there is stuff that you do have to do as the business owner.
Well, yeah. And I mean, the arrangement with that was a little like you are taking an active role in that content, and it is, it's been something. Really...
Oh, God. Yep. Well, you know what? It's funny because I have a dual need there. I want it to be, we're like, our example is that we are now 36 years in business. And as much as I don't have the time and space to create this copy, we are too well known here for somebody to get to that website and not sound like me. There would be a huge disconnect, I think. And so that's why you're having such a hard time, instead of just me paying you to write the copy. So, So anyway, well, Nicole, my big thing with you is that I love that you have a very clear set plan on the way that you help business owners do their websites, whether you're building it for them or not. And I have to say, we're going to share, right? How many times I've said to you in the last year and a half how much I think this planning process, this discovery process that you have is so actionable and so beneficial to businesses, that I have said to you 1,000 times, you should just sell this part of it. Like, for somebody who doesn't have the ability to go on, financial ability to go on and have you build the rest of the website and do the other two sections, the actual creating the development process and then doing all the copy. I've said to you, just this exercise, it reminds me, for a website, it reminds me of what I also always tell everybody that I think is so actionable, is Nancy Ganskoffer's Your Business in Words.
Love it.
Yes, this goes along with that. So really hands in hand. And so what happened? So I said this to you enough times now. What happened, Nicole?
So LuAnn and I were chatting. I was like on a train or something. And and you were like, it's you just brought up the idea of doing this one to many, like just the concept. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
No, I mean, you're being shy now and you're being modest. And what I said was, Nicole, there are so many interior designers out there that could benefit from this process alone. If you could figure out a way to sell this process only, to allow a designer to buy at least this process of it. And I said, and I know that you would have to make it, because one-on-one, it's very intensive. You spend an hour each week for 6 weeks with your client, but then you're doing, but then you're doing tons of back work every time you come to the next meeting. And so it's not just, 4 hours or whatever it is, it's many hours on your part. And so I said to you, you got to figure out a way. You got to, because people need this, and I know it's valuable. And if you could figure out a way to bring it to more people, because there are people out there, designers out there, that are going to build their own website on Squarespace and Wix and everything else. But how much more effective would their websites be with the benefit of this insight? And that was the one to many. And that was when you went, oh.
Yeah, well, you're being shy about your skills as a business coach, because, and we were not on a coaching call. That's not what we were doing. We were just chatting. But
That's
you do
right.
have a way. You have a way of pulling something out of a person. You really do. And yeah. So yes, this is something that I am doing. We're going to do a class. We're
Right.
going to do a brand discovery class. It's going to be in small-ish groups, and we are going to take designers through this process and teach them how to brand themselves in preparation for either a website, building a new website, or having someone else do it, or renovating their current site, whatever it is. But figuring out how to brand themselves.
I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I have to say to all of you listening that I highly endorse this process. I went through it with Nicole for both the LuAnn Nigara site and the Window Work site, and it is invaluable to have that third set of eyeballs on your business that just says, what do you mean by that? Like, what are you talking about? And you're like, well, and you're like, and no, that's not coming across, or what do you want to come across? And also too, just the confirmation of what you want to say sometimes is okay to say. Like when you talk about the LuAnn Nigara site, a lot of times I was like, well, that just seems a little too in your face. But my thing is, I like to teach smart, actionable interior designers how to make money. You see, I'm not interested in teaching people who don't like to take action. I'm not interested. Don't tell me that it can't be done. Don't tell me that won't work for you. That makes my brain spin. So you're like, so then you better put that message out there, or you're going to have people coming to you that aren't ready to work. And I'm like, well, heck no. I want people who are ready to work. And so these are the benefits, because as you could second guess yourself and say, maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe I shouldn't do that. But Nicole is very skilled at helping you evaluate really what your sweet spot is and helping you create that message to do that. And so this is going to be the brand discovery class, where you can do it together with other interior designers. And it's a lead class. It's not at this point. I fully believe that Nicole should record these and make it a buying video off a cart in her website. I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that. But right now, what she's going to do is lead the class and be there as an interactive instructor and instruction back and forth. So, I'm just saying.
Yes. So if you're listening to this in the future,
right, in the future,
if there are like flying cars going by your window, then like it might be a recorded class.
Oh my God. And know you're going to have fun. I mean, I'm just going to say. Okay. So it's where's our website that we're going to go?
Yeah, so there's for now a landing page. So you can go to brandingdiscovery.com. Brandingdiscovery.com will take you to the right page for now.
Right. And then that way you can get more information. And I'm going to tell you, I just, elephant in the room here, everyone. This is a valuable process. This is a process that costs a lot of money when you do it one-on-one, and it's worth every penny. I've done it twice. It's worth every penny. But by doing this, as I, implored her to do for several people at one time, it makes it very affordable. So, go to the brandingdiscovery.com, get the information on it, and, see if it's for you. But there's very few things that I really hammer like this. But I feel so confident in your skills in this, Nicole, that I have no compunction to be so. And I'm not getting anything for this, guys. I'm not getting an affiliate or anything like that. I truly, truly just have valued being part of this process with Nicole and wanted to share it with all of you. So, all righty, Nicole. I think that I really do appreciate that you did share that if somebody did want to go through the steps themselves, that they really did get some good information in order to do it without the benefit of the class or working with you one-on-one. I also do think that it's pretty obvious right now that I'm going to need a multiplication table in front of me for all future shows.
You're like, oh, that was show number 232.
I'm talking about my $1,000 over 5 days.
are. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just funny because like I don't even know if you have all the episodes in front of you, but it seems like you're like some sort of like,
Yes. No. See, I open iTunes.
Divided by 5. You're like, I don't know. Gotta check out. Get back to you on that.
That's it. Oh, sweet Jesus. All righty. Well, Nicole, thank you so much. And everybody, don't forget, it's brandingdiscovery.com.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnn Nigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.